A man sits in a Senate chamber in Rome, 63 BC. Marcus Porcius Cato the Younger has just been accused of treason by Julius Caesar himself. The room waits for his reaction: anger, defense, the crack that confirms guilt. Cato doesn't move. His hands stay folded, his breathing unchanged. The silence lasts 11 seconds. What Cato understood is what most people never learn. The first person to react loses control. This is about emotional sovereignty, staying unmoved when the world provokes you, not suppression, widening the gap between what happens and what you do. Psychologists call it the stimulus-response gap. The Stoics called it apatheia, freedom from involuntary reaction. Viktor Frankl documented the gap in a Nazi concentration camp. Between the moment a guard struck and the prisoner responded, a space existed where choice still lived. He wrote about it in 1946 in Man's Search for Meaning. The widely cited framing that a measurable window exists between stimulus and response has become psychological shorthand for what Frankl observed under conditions designed to eliminate choice. Whether the gap is 400 milliseconds or 4 seconds, the principle holds. Reaction can be separated from provocation if the mind is trained to recognize the separation point. Dr. Sarah Thornton sits in a hospital boardroom in Chicago, 2019. She's been accused of an error that cost $340,000. The accusation is false. She has the email that proves it. But the moment she opens her mouth, she realizes. The accusation is designed to make her react. She closes her laptop. 9 seconds of silence. The meeting ends without resolution. 3 weeks later, the accuser resigns. Thornton never mentioned the email. The pattern is older than boardrooms. Interrogation rooms, family arguments, political debates create a stimulus so sharp the response bypasses thought. The response is the goal. What matters? The target speaks before they think. FBI behavioral analysis trains agents to watch micro-expressions in the first 3 seconds. A truthful person takes longer to respond. Deceptive people respond immediately. They've rehearsed. But there's a third category: the person who doesn't respond at all. That person can't be read. That person has widened the gap. You've been in a conversation where someone said something designed to make you defend yourself. You felt the pull to correct, explain, prove them wrong. You handed them the map to your nervous system. They now know which words make you move. The gap isn't built by resisting emotion. It's built by separating emotion from action. Cato felt anger. Thornton felt rage. Frankl felt terror. The emotion arrived. The automatic response did not. The Stoics described 8 movements of the mind: perception, judgment, impulse, action, desire, aversion, assent, dissent. What they practiced but never named was a 9th capacity: observing impulse without obeying it. Call it the 9th thread. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 4. Passage 3. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The thread is that realization made physical, not Stoic terminology. A label for what Frankl documented in Auschwitz and what interrogation resistance training now teaches. The gap between feeling and action can be widened deliberately. James Stockdale was shot down over North Vietnam in 1965. 7 years in the Hanoi Hilton. His captors used the rope trick, binding arms until shoulders dislocated. The goal: make him scream, beg, sign a confession. Stockdale had memorized Epictetus before deployment. When the ropes tightened, he recited passages silently. He didn't scream. They could break his body. They couldn't make him react. Military psychologists studied Stockdale's survival. POWs who survived long-term captivity shared one trait: a pre-rehearsed mental script that activated under duress. Not hope. The script was acceptance of present reality, plus refusal to let reality dictate action. The Stockdale Paradox. Confront brutal facts while retaining faith you'll prevail. The ninth thread holds those states in tension. The paradox only works if the gap is wide enough. If the stimulus reaches your action center before your deliberate mind intervenes, the anchor doesn't engage. You react. The person who provoked you now controls the next 5 minutes of your life. David Chen sits across from his business partner, San Francisco, 2021. The partner accuses him of embezzling $80,000. Chen has bank records, but he recognizes the bait. He asks, "What would it take for you to verify that claim yourself?" The partner doesn't answer. 2 days later, partner admits the accusation was a misread spreadsheet. Chen never showed the records. He widened the gap with 4 words. The pause isn't strategic silence. It's the physical manifestation of the gap. The brain completing the prefrontal override that takes 600 milliseconds, while the amygdala fires in 200. People who pause before responding to charged statements are read as more credible. Not because the pause signals honesty, because it signals the speaker is choosing their response rather than being controlled by the provocation. The gap can be trained, not a personality trait, a skill built through repetition in low-stakes moments, so it's available in high-stakes ones. 3 components: recognition, rehearsal, retrieval. Recognition is naming the emotion before it names you. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett calls it emotional granularity. Her 2017 research shows people with high granularity recover from provocation 30% faster. Recognition isn't suppression. It's naming the feeling in the moment you're feeling it. Rachel Kim sits in her car, Seattle, 2020. Just left a review where her manager called her too aggressive in meetings. She feels rage. She doesn't start the car, doesn't text. She sits in silence and names it aloud. I'm angry because the feedback is gendered, and I know it. Naming it creates the gap. Rage present, impulse present, action no longer automatic. She drives home. 3 weeks later, requests transfer. Rehearsal is deliberate practice of non-reaction in controlled environments. Military stress inoculation exposes soldiers to increasing simulated stress while requiring cognitive tasks without emotional reaction. Soldiers who complete training show 50% lower cortisol spikes in combat. Rehearsal makes the gap automatic. You've rehearsed reactions you don't want. Every time you check your phone within 3 seconds of a notification, you rehearse immediacy. Every time you respond to provocative email within 5 minutes, you rehearse reaction. The gap isn't built avoiding provocation. It's built practicing delay in moments that don't matter. Retrieval is accessing the gap under duress. Andrew Huberman calls it state-dependent learning. A skill learned in calm can't always be retrieved in chaos. Solution: rehearse the gap in mild stress. Cold shower, difficult conversation, physical discomfort. The brain learns to associate gap with arousal, not calm. The gap collapses under 3 conditions: exhaustion, isolation, identity threat. The conditions most likely when someone's provoking you. Dr. Robert Hines, Johns Hopkins, 2017. Awake 19 hours finishing a grant. Department chair emails 11:47 p.m. This proposal does not reflect our standards. Hines feels collapse, too tired to widen the gap, types response, deletes it, closes laptop, sends nothing. Next morning, rested, he realizes the email wasn't about the proposal. Budget cuts the chair couldn't announce. Exhaustion almost made him the target. University of Michigan research, 2019. Sleep deprivation reduces prefrontal activity 30%, increases amygdala reactivity 60%. The 400 millisecond window shrinks to 100. Override doesn't arrive in time. Isolation is the second collapse. Mei Lin, remote work, pandemic 2020. Colleague messages accusing her of missing a deadline. She hasn't, but she's been alone for 6 days. No one to check her perception against. She types a defense, stops, calls a friend, reads the message aloud. Friend says, "That's not about a deadline." The gap returned the moment another voice entered. Identity threat is the third. When provocation targets who you believe you are, your competence, your integrity, your core, the gap collapses fastest. The threat bypasses prefrontal cortex entirely, goes straight to amygdala. The response is defense of self, not evaluation of claim. The provocation isn't meant to be true. It's meant to hit identity so hard you react before thinking. 3 daily exercises build immunity. First, delay one response every day by 10 seconds. Email, text, question, doesn't matter. Count to 10. You're training the prefrontal override. Second, name one emotion out loud before acting on it. I'm frustrated because spoken, not thought. The vocalization creates distance. Third, end one conversation without defending yourself. Let a criticism sit. Watch what happens when you don't feed it. The exercises feel trivial. 10 seconds is nothing. Naming emotions seems performative. Not defending feels like losing. That resistance is the point. The gap doesn't feel powerful when you're building it. It feels like doing nothing. That's what sovereignty is. The capacity to do nothing when everything in you wants to move. Cato's 11-second silence ended when he spoke one sentence. "I will not dignify false accusation with defense." Caesar had nothing to work with. The Senate moved on. Thornton never showed the email. Chen never mentioned the bank records. Stockdale never screamed. The gap isn't about winning arguments. It's about refusing to enter them on someone else's terms. You'd recognize provocation. The question is whether you'd widen the gap before responding. Most people can't. The pattern is designed so they can't. The gap collapses under pressure unless it's been built under pressure. You have 400 milliseconds. What you do in that window determines whether you control the next 5 minutes or someone else does. Sovereignty isn't freedom from provocation. It's the refusal to let provocation dictate response. The 9th thread isn't woven once. It's woven every time you choose observation over reaction, every time you count to 10, every time you name the feeling before acting on it. The gap doesn't make you untouchable. It makes you unmoved. That's the only immunity that matters.